Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RDX Sports podcast. I'm Simon Head, and it's been a big week of mixed martial arts. So we're going to bring you two shows this week. Later this week, we're going to talk to my good friend John Morgan, who was there in the Sphere in Las Vegas for UFC 306. An incredible night. Spectacular. I'm sure you've seen the visuals. I'm sure many of you stayed up late to watch it or have seen the highlights since or checked out the incredible cinematography that they put on between the fights in the Sphere. It really was quite something to behold. We'll go through all of that as myself and John give you the last word on UFC 306 a little bit later on this week. But in this show, we're going to give you the last word on Bellator Champions Series London. I was up there at Wembley at the OVO Arena for a fight card that was packed with British and Irish talent. Headlining the card, Leah McCourt, looking to earn herself a title shot against the winner of Chris Cyborg and Larissa Pacheco, who are going to face off later this year in Riyadh at that huge card. It was all set up for Leah McCourt to get the job done and potentially earn herself a shot at that belt, and it all went wrong in the main event. Sara Collins from Australia, undefeated at 5-0, flew all the way over to the UK and stopped Leah McCourt in the first round, submitted her. Looked like it was going to be a TKO, but eventually got it done by submission. And now she is the number one contender at 145 pounds. We will speak to her on this week's show. Also, we'll catch up with Simeon Powell, Great Britain top team light heavyweight, in a really close fight in the co-main event against Rafael Xavier. Got to be honest with you, I thought Xavier got the job done in that fight, but the judges were split, and it was split in favor of smooth Simeon Powell, who I think he knew that he got through a very, very difficult fight there, but he's got a very, very mature head on those 24-year-old shoulders. He's someone definitely to keep an eye on as he makes his way up the ladder at 205 pounds. And he's a good character as well. We'll hear from him on this week's show. Also, we'll hear from the PFL's head of fighter operations, Mr. Dan Hardy, the outlaw himself, former UFC legend, of course. He's now in charge of all things fighter relations at PFL/Bellator. And we managed to get a word with him after the fights backstage at the OVO Arena. So we'll bring you all three of those interviews back to back. We'll kick off with Simeon Powell. Then we'll go straight in and chat to Sara Collins. And then we'll finish off with Dan Hardy. Apologies in advance to Mr. Luke Trainer. Luke Trainer, Simeon Powell's training partner, the other big light heavyweight on this card. And when I say big, I mean big. He's 6'6", absolute monster of a light heavyweight. Put on a great performance. One of the biggest and best performances of the night, I would say, on Saturday night. Unfortunately, didn't get backstage quickly enough to manage to grab him with everything else that was going on at cage side at the time. So unfortunately, we didn't manage to get his backstage interview for the pod. He does make a little cameo appearance towards the end of the show, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, I'm sure we'll hear from the gent, Luke Trainer, at some point in the not too distant future. But it was a good night for UK mixed martial arts. Lots going on, and the crowd at Wembley Arena really seemed to enjoy the fights. There was plenty going on, and as I say, Simeon Powell was one of the big stories. Sara Collins upsetting the apple cart and becoming the new number one featherweight contender in the main event, and then Mr. Dan Hardy putting a bow on everything. And I'm doing it all without a hard hat. You will know what I'm talking about when you get to the end of this podcast. But here's those three interviews. We'll run them back to back to back. And you can check out everything that happened with those three after Bellator London. Let's hear what they've got to say. Check it out.
I just felt like I knew it's not over. It's not over. This game is a game of inches, you know. You're just one step in the wrong place and get caught. But today I showed my heart. Today I showed what I was about. And I'm sometimes it's one of those days, you know. It's sports at the end of the day, you know.
At the end of the day, there was respect between you guys.
Yeah.
In the third round, I saw him yelling. What was he saying?
I think he's shouting something in Portuguese, you know. He's Brazilian, he's like, porra, like, whatever that means. That shit sounds scary as fuck. You know, you're hitting someone and he's going, porra. I'm like, fuck, you know.
Did it throw you off for game?
Nah. I knew what Raf was about. He's a vet. He's a 25 vet. You know, he's been fighting before I even knew what this sport was, even before I was getting into this sport. You know, I'm still young in this game. I've got so many years in this game, so this is the first step back from the loss, and I'm gonna carry on the momentum going forward.
I didn't think it was a split, but obviously you're in there. When you hear that you got the decision at the end, like, describe that feeling.
And it was a massive relief. Like, obviously the first round was like, he got that round. Of course, he dropped me, but I knew it wasn't over. Second round, I knew for sure I won. Third round, I had to dig deep, man. My thumb, I've been having, like, I don't want to get into excuses, but there was shit, you know. I just had to dig deep, and I knew I thought I won, but I wasn't sure. I wouldn't be mad if they gave it to him, if I'm truly honest, because I know what I'm about.
In terms of the end of that first round, obviously being dropped again, talking about what you did. Talk to me about the role of the corner team right now. What were they saying to you? So trying to get you back up and running at the
Yeah, man, they're vets in the game. You know, Brad and Ash have been around for donkeys, you know, and they just told me to relax, stay calm. Look, right, you lost that round, stay sharp, and that's what I done. I just try to get it back.
You talked about the difference in experience between yourself and Brad. How much of a benefit is it to be able to share the page for 3 or 4 rounds with someone like that, given that you're still growing as a fighter?
It just shows you what I'm about, yeah. Like, I'm him, you know. Like, I can get dropped, I can get hurt, I can have the clinic. I think I've shown a lot in my short career. I've shown a lot. I've shown that I can get dropped, I can come back. I can knock people out quick. I've shown a lot in my short career, and I'm just gonna get better. I'm 25. Look at the division. Like, all the champions are 38, 40. Do you know? I'm 25. I've got years of growth in this game. I'm gonna be back.
And how beneficial is it to have someone like Luke alongside you, training in the same gym, and both on a similar but slightly different trajectory?
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, me and Luke just keep growing together. We've been growing together for the past 6 years. I love that guy, man. He's got me, I got him, and we just grow together, bro.
And in terms of, he's come out, he obviously has made it very clear what he wants and where he sees his career going.
Yeah.
He wants to get to the top. How do you see your progression in the 205?
Oh, I believe I'm going to be a world champion. I'm, like I keep saying, I'm 25, man. It's just more years of growth. The thing is, for me, what I need is activity. I feel like I perform best when I'm active. You know, when I'm in that cage and I'm used to that feeling. Like, I love it, but the company keeps throwing me in the deep end. You know, like making me the face of PFL Europe. 2 years into my career, main eventing in Newcastle. Like, not even probably a year into my career. Now I'm co-main event in Wembley. You know what I mean? Like, coming off a knockout loss. You know what I mean? Like, come on, give me some respect. Like, I've been thrown in the deep end, and I manage it. And I'm just growing, and I'm just doing me.
And the last one from me, you talk about the activity that you want, being in the deep end, showing you can do it. PFL turned around to you and said, fancy a shot at global heavyweight league next year, you in for that?
Most definitely. What's that? 7 fights in the big show now. 7 fights. Like, I've had more fights. I've had double the amount of fights in the big show than I had in the local leagues. You know what I mean? Like, that's unheard of. I'm ready. I'm just gonna carry on improving, and just give me my shot, and I'll show you.
Congratulations, Simeon. But obviously you mentioned about activity there. Only about 9-10 months since the fight in Wembley. Is that because they're not giving you the fights, or is it because of the 13 taking time off?
No, man. Like, after that knockout loss, I wanted to be back in March. That didn't happen. Then obviously the fight in June, when I was in Dublin, where I was meant to fight, that fight got pulled, and I had to wait till now. You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, co-main event in Wembley after a knockout loss. You know what I mean? It's like, I was like, cool, let's do it. I just need to be active, bro. That's it. I just need to be active. I need to keep going. I need to keep fighting and improving.
And obviously you were moving into the fight, second round.
round, fourth round, you doubled up as well. How important is it that you're able to showcase your skills and showcase the dominance?
Yeah, like I wasn't intending on doing that. I wanted it smooth and clinical, but sometimes I've got to show that I got the dog in me too, you know. Got that Northwest London in me, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Have you watched the World this season, obviously? You have to obviously how he fared in that.
Yeah. Like my honest opinion, man. Like I was winning that Jakob fight. I just got caught with a shot. And he showed in the Impa fight, like, one wrong move, bro, that man's got power. One wrong move, dropped Impa, but Impa's a fucking vet and he's a tough guy. He came back and fought it out. But it showed me that, yeah, there's levels to this game and maybe, I need to build a bit more, but fuck it, I keep getting thrown in the deep end, so fuck it, why not throw me in the deep end anyway? Let me have a crack at that $1 million, you know what I mean? Yes, sir. Yeah. Bro, it was mad, like, I used to, worked in this arena, like, I used to, like, after work, laugh with my friends, like, we used to laugh and joke about, imagine you fighting in Wembley, you know what I mean? And bro, here it is happening, Joe. Bro, it was a crazy moment. I'm proud of myself for it, and yeah, it's gonna be a moment that it's with me forever, you know? Yeah, like, I had a chip on my shoulder, like, I wanted to come back. Obviously, I had a point to prove. But I felt like he also had a point to prove, bro. That was probably one of the best versions I've seen of Raf. Like, when I studied tape and how I felt in the fight. Man's dangerous, man's strong, but yeah, man, I felt great. Yes, bro.
Firstly, congratulations. Obviously, the dream is about to get how you got that. Do you think being so young and having the sport, going for a fight like that is actually better?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I'm 25, man. I can't be too harsh on myself. I'm a perfectionist, but I'm also, like, the growth that I've learned is, like, I've got to be a realist. And, he's a vet, he's a strong guy. But I showed heart today, you know? 100% is beneficial for me. I'm going to grow and I'm just going to be stronger in the future. Yes, 100%. Like, I knew I could hear him. I hit him with a body shot in the first round, over the first and second round, and he smiled. I knew I got him. But yeah, man, it was just a good fight. It was, you know, I've got no words, man. It was a great experience. Oh, come on, bro. Come on, man. What do you think of Tottenham? Oh, man.
If there's any more, obviously you brought it back in that first round. I just wanted to see, what was your corner saying to you? Did they help you kind of turn it around to fight the night?
Yeah. They just told me, like, yeah, they're real with me, and that's what I want. I don't want no yes people around me. I don't want no one sugarcoating nothing. He's like, you lost that round, get your shit together, and then, do you know what I mean, bring it back. And that's exactly what I done. I didn't get scared. I was not scared one bit. I got dropped. I was like, oh shit, all right, let's bring this back. You know what I mean? It's fucking fighting, fighting. You love this shit. Thank you, bro. Thank you, boys. Love.
Hello. Hi.
Congratulations. The wounds there, but to come into enemy territory like this and to get a win as emphatically as you did, you must be absolutely lovely. What's going through your head, mate?
Yeah, I'm happy that I didn't have to fight for 15 minutes, and I'm just, really happy to win. I had a lot of nerves going into this fight, so I doubted myself a bit, and it's just good to know that I can prove myself wrong.
How much of a challenge has this been? You're right, it's the fight, right? And that's what you're used to. So you've had to deal with a whole lot of extra stuff that you freely admitted has been a bit of a challenge for you. How have you managed to cope with all of that and still get in there and deliver on a fight night?
Yeah, just trying to take it like one step at a time, one day at a time, even like just leading up to the fight in the change rooms, just like watching the fights before, just take it one fight at a time, and then until I'm up, just try and slow down and really take my time.
And in terms of how it panned out in the fight itself, is that how you anticipated it going?
No, I thought we'd have a bit more of a boring fight than that, but I'm not disappointed.
And you're after Chris Cyborg, that's the name you want there.
Well, in the lead up, every interview I did, everyone said, if you win this, you're going to fight Cyborg next. So it just felt right to call her out in the cage.
How much is it going to mean to sort of head back home and be able to tell people I'm there? You know, I've got a title shot waiting for me next time I step in the cage.
Yeah, well, I don't really like talking about myself, so I don't think I'm going to go around telling people that. Maybe. Thank you.
Describe the exact feeling as soon as your fist hit her in the face.
Well, I think she just hit me with something hard before that, so I was like still thinking about my nose. I think it's a bit broken. I was thinking about that. I wasn't even concentrating on the hook that had landed.
And then you got right on it at the right time.
Yeah.
Were you weary of her own submissions off her back as she pulled up the foot? Or did you just go for it?
No, I could hear my coaches yelling, "Jump on her!" So I just tried to listen and jumped straight on. Yeah.
What moment did you think you know you had her?
I felt my arm slip under her chin, and I was like, surely I'm just going to squeeze the life out of her, and surely she taps. Thanks.
One more, just on the finish there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a lot of stuff being landed on the ground there.
Yeah.
Ref down over the other wasn't stepping in to finish the fight. Did you switch to a sub because of that? Was it a case of, okay, he's not stopping this, I need to change things?
No, I think she moved, and I couldn't get my fist through as well to connect with her face. So then and she kind of turned belly down. So that's when I jumped on her. Yeah. Thank you. I didn't believe I could, but my coaches and my training partners tell me all the time that I do have some power. So I just got to believe in myself a bit more and listen to them. And clearly, I can hit people hard.
Was the training camp really leading towards you and in the hands and trying to hit it rather than submission? Or was it just camp as usual?
No, I had a really well-rounded training camp this time because I knew she was slippery on the ground. So I did a lot more grappling than I normally do, but I do a lot of striking anyway. So yeah, it was a pretty well-rounded camp.
Obviously, we know that Cyborg is also survived at Sheffield in October.
Yeah.
Who do you see coming out with the victory in that fight? Do you think that's going to have any effect in your Cyborg?
I haven't really thought about how it will affect me, but I think Cyborg will win for sure. I think in the first or second round. Yeah.
You seem like more confident. Were you aware of the reception people had? You seem like you were nervous and anxious about it as well.
What was that?
Were you aware of the reception people had that you almost seemed nervous and anxious about it?
I think I just don't like doing media stuff, so I probably can't. I was super nervous leading up to the fight, but I probably come across more nervous than I actually am. I just more nervous about doing media than I am about the fight. That wasn't easy. My nose really hurts. And I didn't expect it to go like that. It honestly was not as easy as I thought she'd be. She was a lot stronger than I thought she would be, and she hit me really hard.
Sarah, so obviously, going back to where you were at the point of Dublin, you got all the way to the fight, and you're about to make weight, and obviously everything went along with that fight. To then be at the point you are now, with this main event at Wembley Arena, you're now the number one contender. Just talk us through how you're feeling from that point to this point.
Well, I guess we can say everything happens for a reason. It was probably good that fight got cancelled because now I might not have been here if that fight had gone ahead. So yeah, now I'm looking at that fight being cancelled as a blessing because now we're here with the win.
Is it sort of surreal to be, you were only 5 fights into your professional career coming into a main event. You're now 6 fights, 6 wins. How surreal is it that now the names that are being thrown and you are Cassie Garney, Chris Cyborg, all these legends of the sport, and now they're very much in your eyes?
Yeah, so ever since I started MMA, Cyborg was always on the radar. I didn't think it would happen, or I didn't think her name would be thrown around so soon in my career, but I mean, I'm not a spring chicken. I am 34 years old, so I'm ready for it.
More than earned it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
that's another question. But over the last couple of days and today, we've gotten so much love from you from Australia, and including like former opponents of yours. What message do you have for the people back here?
Just, I love being Australian. I love watching all the Aussies fight, and I think everyone's doing amazing at the moment. And yeah, go Aussies. Eggs. Is that it? Oh no, that's all right.
So when you pulled down the mount, I'll be honest, you look really nervous to me, and I was sitting next to someone, I was like, she's good enough. Why she look so nervous?
Yeah.
Were you nervous, and how were you able to sort of control those nerves and make your fight style?
Yeah, so when I was walking out, I actually wasn't nervous, but when we were watching like the footage in the back room, I was like, oh my God, why do I look so scared? I think it's just my face. Like everyone has, some people have a resting bitch face, I have a resting nervous face, I don't know.
When you went out there, I mean, do you think you surprised me with how quickly you sort of put the pace on her? That was a major practice right there.
No, I think she put the pace on me and I just had to match it. Thank you. That's it. Sweet, thank you.
Crazy night of fights.
Yeah.
Interesting results. Possibly some controversial scoring. Give us your take. Let's start main event first.
Okay.
We spoke earlier in the week, and a lot of the narrative was around Leah. You said to me, can't sleep on Sara Collins, she could completely upend all of this, and that's exactly what happened. Give us your take on how that was panned out.
You know, anybody that's got a split decision win over Sinead Kavanagh, you know they can dig deep, you know they can push. I was expecting her to use that front kick a little bit more, but to be honest, because Leah opened up with low kicks, it gave so many opportunities for her to start catching and countering and stuff. So I think the very fact that the opening of Leah's game was kind of stifled with those kick catches, it just kind of threw her off a little bit. And then you just can't underestimate the power of Sara Collins. I mean, and this goes for everybody that's got a background in judo, right? You know, one of my teammates, Jimmy Warland, one of the strongest people you've ever meet. Like, there's something about judo that creates this eternal strength in a human body. And when that right hook landed, it didn't surprise me at all that she was able to put her away. What surprised me is that she was able to land so many shots before the fight continued into a rear naked choke. Like, I may have even been tempted to jump in there after a couple of those hammer fists and stopped it. But, you know, as far as Sara Collins goes, the whole week's been awesome because she's been having this realization that her career's moving very, very quickly, right? 5 fights, 6 fights, main event, title shot, you know. That's why I asked her in the cage afterwards, you fighting Cyborg, you know, and then all of a sudden it's like it clicked in her head and she realized. And I'm fully tuned into her journey now. No matter where she goes, what she does, I'm excited for her.
Yeah, it's a real roller coaster for her, and in a slightly different way. So, you know, it's a roller coaster for Leah as well. She's now got to pick herself up after a damaging loss. You know, a lot of people would have possibly looked at this fight as a bit of a foregone conclusion for her. She's the name in the division. She's the one that's been positioned as the next person in line. She's just been stopped in the first round. What do you think the best approach is for her now in the next few months ahead?
You know, I think maybe the best thing to do for her is to take a bit of time. I know that she's talking about, she's studying. I think she's starting new studies tomorrow. So she's going to have a lot of other things going on. And, you know, she's already had so many fights and achieved so much. I think maybe a short break and a refocusing on something else would be good for her to just kind of get a bit of a breather and see where she sits in this division. Of course, you know, we've got Pacheco against Cyborg playing out, so Leah's still going to play a role in this division. It's just been set back slightly, but, you know, the momentum now is on Sara Collins' side. And, you know, this division needs to grow. We need more fighters in this division. So to see Sara Collins add a name into the hat of the contenders is exciting. And I think, you know, Leah knows what the opportunity was tonight and what was missed, but you can still see how proud and happy she was for Sara, which shows her professionalism.
Talk to us about that pro, mate. It was an absolute banger of a fight to watch. A real sort of back and forth fight. It looked like Simeon was very close to being finished at the end of that first round. Another few seconds it might have been. Came back well in the second round. When you got to the end of the fight, you genuinely, when you watch the fight, you get a sense of what way you think it might go. What way did you think it was going? You obviously didn't get the benefit of your commentary.
Yeah, no, I think we all saw it pretty much the same. The third round was the most interesting round. Now, the first round, if you scored it at 10-8, that would have made it very difficult for Simeon to come back. But it was a competitive enough round, even though he was hurt a couple of times, to be able to get the 10-9 on the scorecards. The second round, it looked to me like Xavier had a bit of an adrenaline dump, and he was just a bit flat. Like, there wasn't a great deal coming from him. And I've actually just been talking about it in the back. You'll remember when Anderson Silva landed that knee on Bisping. Thought the fight was over, adrenaline dump, all of a sudden you relax and then you realise you've got 2 more rounds to go. it can really throw you off. So for me, that second round for Xavier was him just kind of, okay, all right, the fight's still going, we're still here. And, you know, Simeon was looking really, really good, but that third round was a very, very tough round to score. I thought that Xavier landed the better quality shots. I think Simeon probably landed more volume, and then obviously it depends on how you see the value of those strikes. I think Simeon felt the same thing as the rest of us as well. At the end of the fight, he was kind of leaning on the cage wall. He was like, you know, could have been better, should have been better. But, you know, he gets to regroup and go again. And I think we've got another interesting individual in Xavier that we can keep an eye on.
The auditorium is a hard hat area. Hard hats must be worn when the beacons are flashing. In the unlikely event that an evacuation is necessary, please follow the emergency exit signs to leave the building. The emergency exit is not by the service yard.
I've been practicing. I always wanted to work in an airport.
The auditorium is a hard hat area.
Oh.
Hard hats must be worn when the beacons are flashing. In the unlikely event that an evacuation is necessary, please follow the emergency exit signs to leave the building. The emergency exit is not by the service yard.
Oh, okay.
What I wanted to ask you about Simeon was, we've got Simeon and Luke both coming up in the same division, both coming up through the same gym. Luke was emphatic about how he wanted his career to progress from that point on. We spoke to Simeon back here. He says he's very much still learning in the sport, still growing, towards a very mature approach to take. I asked him about potentially the global league in terms of 5 pounds, and he was like, bring it on. He wants to swim in the deep end. Do you think that's a viable route for him? And is that the most common sense for him, given the way he's developing in this sport?
Yeah, I think so. Look, what we saw tonight from both of those guys is that we've got legitimate light heavyweights in the UK for the first time in I don't know how long. Like, it's never been a very strong division, right? And I think that given the fact that both of those guys are preparing together, they're teammates, they're going to benefit so much if they're not on a collision course at some point in their career. Personally, what I would like to do, I'd like to grab Simeon and bring him back to PFL Europe. I want to see him back in my smart cage. I want to see him keep moving forward in the PFL brackets and potentially get to that global, the global tournament. What you have to remember is that the loss came to Jakub Nedo. Nedo went over onto the global scene and didn't do very well at all. You know, there are real killers in that division. And I feel like, especially seeing that performance, Simeon's got a bit more time to grow, right? Luke looks to me like he's got the momentum on his side, so we've got to ride that momentum. He mentioned Colmore, he mentioned Anderson. They're two good opponents for him in the near future, in my opinion. For Simeon, I think he needs to just work a little bit on his powerlifting, on his presence, and also on his confidence as well, because he was picking himself up off a loss and coming off 10 months out of the cage. Like, you can see that he wants to be active, and if it was up to me, I'd book him every weekend. You know, I think the logical step is Colmore. I think that's the most logical step, right? Like, Corey's got his eyes right at the top of the division, and he's going to be calling out some really interesting people in the coming weeks, let me tell you. What I would like to do is just to see if Luke can maintain this momentum that he started already. You know, he's already streaking. His last performance was a little bit slower than this one, and it was almost like he got into the cage tonight to really prove a point and prove his value in this division. But if he gets a win over Colmore, then he is ready for a title shot.
Right, and then also we have Paul, he was obviously talked about his fight with Xavier. I asked him in terms of before the last fight, he said that he wanted to call out somebody else, and now he revealed it was Usman. So obviously not looking past AJ, but if he beats AJ, love that fight, Usman, is that something that you're excited about?
Well, look, the reality is if Paul gets in there and beats AJ McKee, he can call his shots then, really. You know, like, AJ is the veteran in the division, the most dangerous guy in this weight class, aside from the champion, potentially. Like, if Paul indeed proves that he's ready for this big step up, and it is a big step up, we all know that. All the MMA fans and journalists, we all know it's a big step up. But if he proves that he's ready, then he's going to be ready for anybody in the world if he beats AJ McKee, right? It's one step at a time for Paul Hughes. But I passed him in New York a few weeks ago, and he said to me, I only want big fights. Give me the big fights. And regardless of what happens against AJ McKee, I think we're going to see Paul in the global tournament. I think we're going to see him on the regular season for global next year. and he is potentially going to have the likes of Mark Casey alongside him as well. So there are still lots of very tough fights in Paul's future, even if he comes through AJ McKee.
And that answers my last question in terms of what you're going to do with utilising Mark Casey, but global season sounds like a good idea.
I think that's what he wants. You know, I think he wants to chase that $1 million and get that 2025 belt around his waist, and then that's going to set him up for an opportunity to fight the champion, right? That's ultimately what we're doing. With the global brackets are going to define the winner of that year. The winner of that year goes into the Champs v Champs card. And I think that's where, you know, if I'm Mark Casey, that's what I'm thinking. I want 4 wins next year on a real big stage against some real tough opponents. And then, again, I'm right up at the top of the division, call my shots.
Last one's a personal one for you. With all the work that you do and all these different jobs, what's your favorite part of this whole sport? Like the work that you do?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I love just sitting watching fights. I like it when I wake up in a day and I'm like, right, I have a Bellator card to research today. I'm going to sit and watch 50 fights. Like, they're my kind of days. I really enjoy the time when I can just sit and just immerse myself in it. But at the same time, having conversations with the fighters. You know, I was never particularly much of a talkative person when I was in training camp. I was always kind of focused on what I was doing. But to talk to all these different fighters, you know, I mean, you know, Luke Trainer's a good example. He's not only is a phenomenal fighter, but he's also a really lovely person, right? He's doing a lot of good things outside the cage, and just to have these conversations gives me a real good perspective of the value and the depth of the mixed martial arts community. So, you know, getting to know these fighters a bit better is a real pleasure for me. All good? Sure.
So Sarah got a win, and obviously now she's due to fight Cyborg. Do you think the fact that she's so young in her career and the fact that she's got so little footage to make research, do you think that makes her more dangerous over Cyborg?
I do, and I think something else that makes her quite dangerous as well, because I mean, she had 2 Muay Thai fights, but she's had loads and loads of judo experience. So it's almost like, it's kind of like Ronda in the early days. Like, we didn't see Ronda struggle until she started to try and be a striker, right? The thing with Sarah, and that right hook landed clean. She knows she's got that in her arsenal if she needs it. But ultimately, her mindset is judo. Let me close this person down. Let me get that head and arm position and put them on the floor where I know that my years of judo starts to come into play. And I think that the single-mindedness, if she's going into a fight with Cyborg, is get a hold of her, get her on the floor. You know, use that judo to slow her down and to take her out of her striking range. I think the fact that she doesn't have a lot of experience and there isn't a lot of footage, as you said, it can be an advantage if she can utilize it in that way. But she has to, you know, stick to her wheelhouse, keep working what she's good at, and then, you know, see what sticks against Cyborg. That head and arm throw, if she can get into that crucifix position against Cyborg, I think she can control her. You know, that judo top game is a thing to behold. Oh man, all the time. Every time I wake up, I'm like, shadowbox, it's fight day. Got my mouth guard in my bag just in case. I don't know why I still do that. I need to do medicals and all kinds of stuff before I step in there. Yeah, look, there's nothing like an adrenaline rush of stepping into a cage and feeling the pressure of the person in front of you trying to take your head off. I like that adrenaline rush. I like the fact that, all right, you're going to try and get to me. Let me see if I can get to you first, right? I love that roll of the dice. And, you know, the commentary and the matchmaking, it's all great, but the adrenaline rush that comes from that, I've not found anything to equal it just yet. You can't creep around, you're too tall.
More camera time for me, I guess. Hello, Mr. Hardy. Thank you very much, bro. I'll see you soon, brother. Yeah. Thank you, man.
All good? Any more? Awesome. Oh, hard hat guy's waving us off.
So there we go. Simeon Powell, smooth Simeon Powell, managed to get the win via the narrowest of margins. But what a good character he is. What someone who he was once the steward in the SSE Arena, as it was then, Wembley Arena, as it's known to most people. He was a steward for an Anthony Joshua fight back in the day. And here he was, co-main event in the same building he used to work in, and picking up a huge win for his career. Really interesting to see what direction his career takes under the PFL/Bellator banner. Will he go into the Global League, or will he go back into PFL Europe and maybe make another run at that PFL Europe title after being agonizingly denied in the final last year? But there's definitely big things ahead for smooth Simeon Powell. And it's the same for Luke Traynor, who obviously we just caught at the very end there, giving Dan Hardy a hug. He's got big things ahead, and he made no secret of what he wants next. He's already put Corey Anderson on standby, that he's after that belt, and it looks like he might have to go through Northern Ireland's Carl Moore to earn himself a shot. That would be a good next matchup for Luke Traynor as he continues his development, and both of those guys training together at GB Top Team in Morden under the stewardship of Brad Pickett, Ash Grimshaw, elite level coaches here in the UK. Both of those guys, Simeon Powell, Luke Traynor, big futures in the game at 205 pounds in a division that typically hasn't produced a huge amount of world-class talent from these shores. These two guys have certainly got what it takes to go a long way at 205. So looking forward to seeing what comes from them. Looking forward to seeing what comes from the PFL in a not too distant future. We have PFL Europe in Glasgow, the playoffs in Glasgow, just coming down the line in a couple of weeks' time. And ahead of that, we'll have an exclusive interview with Dan Hardy ahead of that event, where we just get the whole State of the Union from one of the PFL's top brass to talk about the development of the PFL, the development of PFL Europe, and how it all is gradually starting to tie together as we start to piece this thing together. And the PFL looks to become a real serious global mixed martial arts organization. The pieces are gradually being put in place. The regional leagues are gradually being established. And Dan is certainly someone who's very excited for what could be around the corner for the PFL. But that's for another show. That's for a week or so's time, perhaps. But thanks very much for checking out this show. Don't forget, you can follow us on the socials. I'm at Simon Head Sport on all platforms. You can also check out RDX Sports on Twitter, RDX_sport, sports on Instagram. You can get this podcast via the RDX Sports YouTube channel. You can get it on Spotify as well. So please do make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be checking this out. We'll have another show coming for you a little bit later this week. Myself and John Morgan unpacking everything that took place at the Sphere on Saturday night at UFC 306. And then the build-up will start to PFL Europe. And then not too long after that, we've got Octagon 62, which is an absolutely massive event in Frankfurt, Germany. 58,000 tickets already sold for that event, which is staggering, absolutely staggering. And I'm sure we'll have some content in and around that event in the not too distant future as well. But for now, that was Bellator London. Thanks for checking out the show. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Don't forget to check out the UFC 306 wrap-up show a little bit later this week. I'll speak to you soon.